Okay, this is a Dungeons and Dragons channel. I just recently subbed to, and it's by Kasimir Urbansky, the RPG Pundit. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that he's supposedly, right, he's using the terms SJWs and canceling. So why not Jessica Price, a female's name? Yeah. I'll answer that for you because she's female, Kasimir. Anyway, he admits he's right wing. And trouble with right wing is they get these kind of comments. I'm just on this channel because I am so glad Adam Koebel got eaten by other communists. You see, this is men getting fired by women, and right wingers talk about Marxists and communists. Now, I started debunking in this thread, and Kasimir here says, yes, all the evil vaginas are blamed for everything wrong in your life, Trevor. See, he doesn't like me debunking that. Just to show, like you say, why are you blaming feminist incursion on communism? No wonder D&D is lost when you guys derail the convo to their pet issues. Now, that is the general gist of this and the big problem with it. Now, let's hear a bit from RGBP Pundit.
Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And today...
Okay, so this is a bad start already. Because the final boss suggests that this is posturing, that he's a tough guy and he's going to be fighting these guys, which he doesn't. And he calls himself a shitlord. It's just another word for edgelord. And edgelords make light of their bullying. You know, someone bullied them and they're kind of making jokes like it doesn't matter, but it does matter to them.
Talk to you about how it's been a popcorn eating week for me. Like, you know that, meme, the GIF meme of the guy just smiling, eating popcorn while he's watching some horrific disaster unfold that affects people he despises.
You aren't just watching eating popcorn, are you? This is your hobby, and the feminists got a hold of it and they're ruining it. And so you're being affected, right? Exactly.
Well, that's kind of been me this week, right? What we've had happen first was with these are all conflicts of SJWs canceling each other. And the first one that came up...
All right, these are feminists and they're firing people. And you're going to find out that the SJWs, quote unquote, that are being fired are male. And the ones doing the firing are female.
Was the Luke Crane Perfect RPG scandal featuring Adam Robot Orgasm Kobold. Now,
there you go, Adam Kobold. So he even mentions him. Adam Kobold got eaten by other communists. So it's a guy. There you go.
If you want to know the story about the Adam Kobold Robo Orgasm rape incident or something like that, you should...
Rape incidents? So it's going to be like a sexual harassment type thing. The standard for women to do to men.
Check out, I did a video about Kobold, so look it up below. I think it's called SJ.
I meant to say standard accusation.
JW designer gets himself canceled or something like that. Or if you want to know about the Luke Crane issue and this, how he tried to start a Kickstarter with a bunch of SJW luminaries and then tried to sneak...
Okay, this is a bit long-winded.
Some very well-known supposed champions of social justice, white-skinned champions of social justice in the gaming field, had gotten really buddy with Swordsfall and were waving him around as their not their shield exactly, but rather as their attack dog, basically.
Exactly. You guys, another thing, you always fall for the race thing too. These they're using this black guy as an attack dog. That's right. But as you say in this video, these same guys get zapped because these attack dogs are still guys. It happens to Asian men and Hispanic men and black men. It doesn't matter. So do yourself a favor for RPG Pundit. Don't fall for it.
They were using him to be able to have, because it's one thing if like some pasty white guy from California accuses you of being a racist, but if a black game designer accuses you of being racist, it makes much more of an impact. In fact, you could pretty much.
And racism, they call you a racist as an excuse to get rid of men. It's one of the ways. It's usually sexual harassment type, but they go the racist route too.
Much sum up most of what Swordfall did as being a kind of postmodern liberal minstrel show, and I'll explain what.
Then this is what I'm talking about: postmodern liberal. So you're trying to make it about left-right politics, conservatives versus liberal, but that's not what it is. It's the girls against the guys.
What I mean, right? A minstrel show was a type of, if you can call it, entertainment that occurred in the 19th and 20th century, where you had black performers and some.
Enough of this. We'll get a little further ahead.
White people, mainly Democrats.
Yeah, there you go. Democrats again. It's like Democrats versus Republican. Liberals versus conservatives. It's everything but women against men, which is exactly what it is. That's what feminism is. They speak for women's interest at the expense of men. Pundit.
The 19th century and early 20th century, mainly in the South, right? So it was a bunch of people, some of them black people, some of them white people putting on blackface, that were taking on the stereotypical.
Enough of this.
But now he's gotten himself into some tremendously serious trouble, apparently.
With this guy's Swordfall.
On account of kind of a harassment situation, online harassment, and I don't know, I think in-person harassment too. Some people have come out and spoken out against him about, bad personal behavior that was secretly going on.
I'm going to hazard a guess that he probably came on to some of the girls, these feminist women in the gaming circle, and they didn't like it because he's a low status nobody. So they called it harassment. Now he's in trouble.
The first person that came out against him is apparently a woman of color, and she actually
called it a woman of color.
Had the quite a correct phrase in her public letter shaming him, that he was actually in his tendency to claim that everything that was actually about him was about his race. He was ending up becoming the model of why people hate minority, pop culture figures, right? And which is quite funny, because of course
this black guy didn't know his place around the girls. That's what happened.
The model that the SJWs love, SJWs are the 8% of the population that everybody else despises, is going to be a model everyone.
If they're only 8% of the population and everyone despises them, how come they get away with doing this sort of thing constantly? Is this one of these weaklings have so much power? Who's doing all the strong arming? Kasimir? Who's strong arming? If these guys are so weak and everyone despises them, how come they get away with infiltrating? How come you don't stop them?
Everyone else is going to despise. But anyway, so he's got into huge trouble now, and they're talking about canceling him. He's probably done for. Luke Crane is probably
getting fired. You can say it.
Probably done for. But I have a question, and this is the real center of the topic for tonight, which is how come Jessica Price isn't done for? I mean,
because she is a girl. She's a woman. This is a feminist incursion. So the men get fired and the women can do what they like. It's so obvious. It's obvious to anyone, Kasimir, who wants to admit it. It's only a shock to you.
Bear with me for a second. Jessica Price, in case you haven't heard, again, watch Inappropriate Characters if you like before this to get the whole story of the new Ravenloft book. But she is the major person involved in the production of the new Ravenloft book for Wizards of the Coast, which seems really odd, right? Because Jessica Price has basically done harm to every company she's ever worked for.
This actually fits in perfectly. Feminists come to hobbies that are mainly male enjoyed, ruin it purposely, grab a paycheck, and move on to the next project. So this isn't surprising at all.
And has a tendency to brutally attack the fan base of every game product she's ever worked.
Yeah, the male fan base, that's right. She's a woman who doesn't like men.
Worked for. And so, of course, if you're Wizards of the Coast, you're going to go, oh, yeah, that's who we want to hire now, right?
But they do. If Wizard of the Coast is obviously feminist controlled. And when they saw her resume and saw her destroying these things, they were happy. They said, we want this girl.
Like, it is incredible how these people, I think only feminists, maybe feminists and trans people.
He actually mentioned feminist. Kasimir, you can stop using SJWs now that you're admitting it's feminist. You just admit it. You can stop using SJWs.
Can fail upwards so consistently, right? Because,
but not failing. This is their goal. Invade, destroy, demolish, and then move on. So this is not upward failing. This is 100% success. They're succeeding now as we speak.
Crane, Coble, Swordsfall. Swordsfall's a person of color. He's still not going to get away with it, it looks like.
Of course not, because he's a guy. He's a he.
But, I mean...
Yes.
You've got... when it comes to women...
Yeah.
Specifically feminists...
Yes. There's a lot of hesitation going on here. This guy's really having to look after his words. Yes.
Then someone like Jessica Price, she can...
Yes.
She could just get away...
Yes.
With whatever she wants to.
Yes,
right?
It's about time you got it out. She can. She is a woman. This is feminist and controlled space. She can do whatever she wants. And the guys, they become the tack dogs that eventually get theirs.
And she'll somehow be pushed upwards in spite of failing, right?
No. She is she isn't somehow. She is pushed upward because she's succeeding. She's succeeding at the goal the feminists have for Dungeons and Dragons.
It's remarkable.
Nope.
And it's not just her. It's happened to a lot of different people who have, who are these feminist icons that they come in, they're hired for some big project. The project is a disaster. It hurts the company, and they're hired for a bigger project, right?
Exactly, just like I just said. They come in. They come into men's fantasies. They destroy them, and then they move on, and they get a paycheck every time. This woman has demonstrated exactly what the Wizard of the Coast want, and so she's getting promoted, right?
And now Jessica Price is here being brought in to work for Wizards of the Coast on their big new setting book, Ravenloft. And like that's one question, right? One question is, why would Wizards hire this monster?
I already answered it. And for you to even ask the question shows you just how out of touch and how much coping you are going through. RGPundit.
Right? Why would they hire someone that is so toxic to every company she's ever touched, right? But the bigger question in another way is like, why aren't the SJWs canceling her? Right? Like,
because they are SJWs. They're feminist, and she's one. And so the women get the work and the men get fired. That's what canceling is, by the way. It's fired. They fire the men and hire the women.
This is Wizards of the Coast, which for years now the SJWs have insisted is the den of evil, right? It's the great Satan, you could say, right?
Yeah, but they're in charge now, right? So they're taking care of it. They're destroying it as we speak.
The company that is so terribly problematic, it mainly because they haven't listened to the SJWs and fired Mike Merles. And Mike Merles, of course, his main crime was hiring me and Zach Smith on 5th edition, meaning that 5th edition will always, the success of 5th edition will always be tied to our names and not to the names of, he didn't hire SJW designers. He hired SJW designers.
Say feminist.
On 4th edition, and it was a complete disaster, right? Well, he didn't. Wizards did. He wasn't in charge at that time. But Merle's got me, and 5th edition is the best, the most successful, I'm not going to say the best in terms of quality, but the most successful RPG edition that Wizards has ever done. And they hate that, and they hate Merles for it, and they hate that when they demanded after the Player's Handbook came out.
You think that 5th edition hasn't been touched? This is the height weight in 5th edition for races, and RGP Pundit, that they used to separate the males and females. They used to have 2 lists, one for male and one for female. Now they've got it just for both sexes. Now you might be able to argue that the fictional races aren't real and all the male and females are the exact same. How can they do it for the race of men, the human race? When they depict male and female characters, there is a height and weight difference. But here they only have one category. They've kind of put it in the center for both men and women. Why? So obviously they have affected. To me, that's a negative way because it's not necessary. That
me and Zach should somehow be publicly denounced by Wizards of the Coast. That didn't happen, and Merle said basically there was, none of the charges had any evidence against them, which none of them did at the time.
It doesn't matter. All you have to do is repeat a lie over and over again. All you have to do is have someone back you, someone who's in power fire you. It doesn't have to be true.
It turns out that then later there were some claims against Zach Smith. There have never been any.
And here's another thing, Kasimir. You are smartly hiding your face. Because as a guy, you can't speak about these. Something, I'd bet some money. I would bet that you could open up a new channel here, hire a woman, write your scripts for her, and get her to say this with her face showing, and she'll be all right. That shows you the difference in our society between men and women. And that's why Dungeons and Dragons is now on this chopping block.
None of the claims that these people made up about me, that sorry sack of garbage, right? That walking pile of diabetes, Bruce Baugh, who openly said, he just invented, RPGPundit opposed the inclusive language in the 5e Player's Handbook. He just invented that out of nowhere.
It doesn't, yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be true. You see, if the people up top don't like you, pundit, and they have the power to fire you, they just need an excuse. And the people up top, let's face it, it's feminist run now. And that's why all you guys are having your problems. And that's why you have these male feminists, like you say, come in, attack guys through, you know, the bogus race accusation, and they themselves get fired. So when we start having coming in, or I should say me, come in here, I see one other guy, and start pushing back against right-wing bullshit like this, I shouldn't have suffered you embarrassing yourself by saying, oh, you're blaming it all about the girls. Everything's wrong in your life, Trevor. I mean, come on, dude. You are purposely blind.
Nowhere, right? With the addition kind of being, oh, because he's, you know, transphobic, right? None of that was true. He knew it wasn't true. And when I said outright,
none of this matters. I don't think I have to go any further with this. I don't think I have to go any further with this. You are clueless, and purposely so. Look, why are you blaming feminist incursion on communism? No wonder D&D is lost when guys derail the convo and their pet issues. Dreckle poll, eh? Robert Roberts may believe feminists didn't arise spontaneously out of real oppression. So he believes, you know, he's fitting into the feminist narrative, false narrative, but was an outside socialist communist plot. And he would be right. There you go. Now women are stuck with being actively promoted to the point where they must scream at each other across the bathroom. See, now this guy believes in the bullshit. He's basically a feminist himself. So he believes in women being oppressed, which they never were. And he needs this communist plot so that the women cannot be blamed. And as you can see, here he is, this guy, he can't figure it out. He's been mentioning women and feminists through this whole video. And so, you know, what is it? You guys are trying to say generation after generation, the whole population of women have been brainwashed by Marx, by reading Karl Marx and communism. Dudes, this is pathetic. Dudes, this is pathetic. Kasimir, you owe me an apology. And I'll tell you what, if you want to debate me on these topics, you can. You can come to my Zoom and we can have a back and forth, and you can prove how Marxism and communism fooled countless generations of entire populations of women to hashtag and do this. Goodbye.